Hello everybody, welcome to another reaction video. Today I'm going to do The Day Post Scriptum Die by Resonant FPS. I hope I pronounced that correctly again. If you don't know who Resonant is, he's pretty much like a strategy, FPF kind of first person shooter kind of channel with a lot of that sort of thing, like first person shooter games like Battlefield or Total War and what else? Yeah, like Post Scriptum and War Rights. It's a fun channel to follow. You just follow me. He's actually pretty genius when it comes to talking about these sort of things, like new games, about shooter games, World War II games, whatever, war games, that sort of thing. I do follow him here and there. So yeah, it's gonna be interesting to see what he has to say about Postscriptum, because I haven't played Postscriptum for a while, but I do remember it is a really impressive game when it comes to the realism of warfare compared to, like, say, let's say Battlefield. It's just a complete mess, like Rambos everywhere, snipers in every goddamn mountain and trees. It's just, what the hell? This is not war. So it worked for Battlefield 1 with all that World War 1 stuff, but for modern day, it's too much chaos. It's not like organized like war actually is compared to Postscriptum. Hell Let Loose is also really fun. It's a bit more. People are compared to, let's saying that it's kind of like a sandwich, like it's the cheese here. Hell Let Loose is the cheese. It's between Postscriptum and Battlefield, kind of like a perfect blend here there. So Postscriptum, I haven't, as I said, I haven't played for a while right now, but I remember it's such a fun game if you want a realistic warfare of World War II. And even if I have actually some friends who are in the armed forces, in the Swedish armed forces, they are saying that yeah, we are educated with this sort of thing. We do sit down, we play this game to, it gives you a little bit more immersion, kind of like use your training. I don't know what you're calling, utilize their training to see how effective it is compared to other teams and that sort of thing. So it's so fascinating these sort of things exist, that the military use video games to actually utilize the training here and there. They don't use it for training, but they are utilizing their training to see how effective it can be. So, and I have been I used to be part of not a unit, but what do you call it now again? A regiment, not an actual regiment, but the man, what was it called? It was like it was one of those regiments who organized people to play video games, specifically like Postscriptum was the one that we actually played most of. We have War of Rights as well, which also is a fantastic Civil War game. I love that game. So why have Postscriptum die? I haven't been following Postscriptum for a while now, so okay, I'm a little bit worried because I'm actually planning to install it again and play it a little bit more, because I missed it. It's a really fun World War II realistic video game. So let's see what he has to say.
The World War II follow-up to Squad, set to walk hand in hand with Hell Let Loose, Postscriptum is perhaps one of the best examples of a brilliant game that just couldn't quite make it in today's landscape. From beautiful large open maps, horrific gun simulation with arms and armor authentically recreated. What went wrong? This is the day Postscriptum died. Developed by Periscope, this game offers an immersive experience of what it was like to be on the front lines during one of the most significant events in human history. The game
I gotta say that if you have played this game and you hear the sound effects in this game, I mean, a rifle, it sounds like a rifle, like that crack when you shoot it. That crack, it's so like you almost want to blink, because that's how it feels like. And then when a tank gets hit by a round and it just ricochet, that kind of sound. It's so immersive, especially when you stand next to it and you just my ear. Even when you play the game, it feels like that. Oh my god, I had so much fun with this game. Don't tell me it's like it is a die down something.
Focuses on the historical Operation Market Garden on one-to-one scale maps. Postscriptum was set to be this World War II version of a simulation FPS, Much like its predecessor Squad, you are not a one-man army.
No.
You're part of a team.
No, if you're trying to go all Rambo in this game, there are sniper teams, so they can go out and do recons, and that's basically their job, to recon and report back to the commander about if they see any tanks, the movement of the enemy. They are not supposed, and they can take out officers here and there, but and also disturb, sabotage in the background. But yeah, every unit has their own mission. That's the thing. You have to play the game. But as I said, every soldier has their job. Even if you're in a platoon, you have a specific job to do. Are you a medic? Make sure to take care of your units. Are you an officer? Make sure to lead your unit. Are you you're a machine gunner? Make sure that you set up and suppress, or what you call flank. Make sure the flanking maneuvers or that sort of thing are successful for the other people in the unit or platoon, that sort of thing. I mean, everybody has a job in the platoon, and every unit or platoons have their job in a regiment or unit. So it's so fun. I mean, it's so organizing, so fun. So I mean, if you try to go Rambo, just go out there alone. You can do it if you don't need to join the. I don't think you can. You can choose if you want to join a platoon or that sort of thing, or you can just go out like a Rambo and see how far you can go. Like, you're not going to make it very far, I can promise you that. So no, it's not a Rambo. It's not a fast-pacing FPS game like Battlefield where you can load let's say a Car 98 with a matter of just seconds. No, here you have to take your time, and this game is so fun, man. I'm gonna install it.
Survival will depend on how well you work together. And here's the issue. There are over 40 vehicles, 140 weapons, and a variety of roles that you can play, each with their own skill caps and entry levels, and of course, ways that you can improve them as you go along. Whether you want to play as a medic, a captain, or anti-tank, learning how to use each weapon in that class and upgrading. One of the standout features for Postscriptum, though, is its commitment to realism. From the uniforms to the weapons to the landscapes, to even the player base that want to get involved, they are working together because...
I remember that I took part in a tank squad for most of the time, because tanks are really fun. It was fun. Both in Hell Let Loose and Postscriptum. The tank combat is just fantastic. More in Postscriptum because it's more realistic. I was a driver or a gunner. When it comes to gunnery, I wasn't the best shot, but when it comes to driving, I knew every goddamn movement the commander told me to do. So yeah, I remember once we were driving in the field. I think it was on a field in Normandy. So we were driving I think it was a Panzer IV. I think it was. We were driving to the coast, and all of a sudden, my commander was like, "We are surrounded by enemy, like Americans with bazookas." So I was like, "Okay, gunner, point your gun directly ahead, and I will tell you when to fire." He was like, "Okay, do it." Everybody's like nervous. The commander, he was full up with trying to receive commands from the commander, and he hadn't time to talk to the other crews. Like, he had so much to do in his own little cupola. So I was like not drifting the tank, but I was like turning around and everything, and I was telling him to shoot, and I was stopping so the cannon would go down, and when I did that, I told him to shoot, and we were killing Americans left and right all around us. Good time.
Because that's what the game has orientated them towards. The developers meticulously researched and recreated a World War II experience to make it as authentic as possible. So why then, especially with the success of at least Squad, why did Postscriptum not quite do as well? It still has at least one full server every day, but it's kind of only playable for EU players. There are some US people still playing it, but not nearly as much, and you pretty much are screwed if you live anywhere else in the world. And I think its biggest downfall is its biggest strength: ultra realism. This is something that is lauded over by gamers and has been for quite some time now. Whether it's complaining that a Call of...
I also think a lot of people who play this sort of game that are realistic warfare, a lot of us are in my age, like in our 30s, maybe some 30s, 25, 30s. We don't have that much time anymore. Like a lot of the young people don't want to play this sort of game. They want to play third dance and that sort of thing. Because my generation, I'm born in 94, so in my generation, I am pretty much the Medal of Honor, Call of Duty, early early Call of Duty and Medal of Honor generation with World War II and that sort of thing. We grew up with that. So a lot of us are now in our 30s. So unfortunately, we don't have much time to play video games. So that might be one of the causes, but also I don't think, yes, it's ultra realistic. A lot of people might not be falling for it. Kind of like War Rights, but War Rights is something else. It's much more unique compared to this one.
Duty title is too arcadey, and Battlefield is better because it's larger scale. Neither really.
Larger scale? Do you mean like map size or player base? Because map size is nowhere near as big as Scriptum. I mean it's big. Like it will take you a lot of time to just to walk across the map. So you needed vehicles.
Hold a candle to the realistic simulations that we have today. Arma 2 and Arma 3 were the closest to the largest scale simulated military shooters that we had, both being meticulously crafted in these huge worlds and trying to be orientated towards the more hardcore gamer types. Then you have something like Insurgency, still going for more realism with very fast time to kills, minimal HUD and no kill feeds, but on a smaller...
Oh yeah, Insurgency, isn't that the Blue Drake game? I actually like it. I think it has very big potentials to kind of like not push down Battlefield, but when I play Insurgency, I think it was called, it's so fun. It really is. Like, sure, it's far from being in a perfect war kind of mixture between Battlefield and Hell Loose in sort of way, but it's so fun. Like, I miss this sort of video games when you have to be in squad, not forcibly bound, but if you want better weapons, that sort of thing. Oh, man, I want to install that game again because it's really fun. Go and play. It's free even, so go ahead.
A scale, almost trying to bring in that Counter-Strike crowd to go for a realistic look on the genre. And then you have somewhere in the middle, the Battlefield of this title. Whether it's Squad in the modern day or Post-Scriptum in World War II, they are bringing that middle ground of large scale but not humongous maps like an Arma, but also focusing still on that first person individuality and combat whilst bringing in team play, working together with squads, commanders, and of course your arms and armor with sniper support. But to really look at why Post-Scriptum didn't do quite as well, I think it's a good idea to have a look at what titles did do well in the same vein. How Let Loose. It has been very successful, and despite its recent...
The only thing I can think why it was successful is probably because it's such a, as I said, sandwich. It's a mixture between ultra realistic and ridiculousness of Battlefield. So I think it's probably that's why it's a mixture between a perfect mixture, if you want to call it like that.
Drama with the developers and the somewhat downward trough of the title's roadmap, How Let Loose has been great, and its player base is still there. And I think it's completely down to this. It isn't quite as realistic. It doesn't have that sheer dedication to simulation like Post-Scriptum does, and that's probably a negative thing for a lot of people. But because of this, it means the learning curve from an arcade shooter, which, remember, are still the mainstream, like Call of Duty or Battlefield, isn't as big when it comes to jumping into a title like Hell Let Loose. Don't get me wrong, there is still a big orientation that needs to be done to understand how that title works, but the developers have done a good job of making it realistic enough so it appeases that simulation crowd, but also not too daunting for new players to get their hold on. And with that massive array of content coming out, it keeps it varied. But because of Post-Scriptum's huge implementation of realism, the learning curve is way more How Let Loose, you don't actually have to speak that much. Of course, it's preferred, and snobby people might say you shouldn't be playing unless you're communicating, but you can get away with it. You can still have a great time and still enjoy the core mechanics of How Let Loose, even if you're just on your own. Postscriptum is a very different story. It's almost imperative to communicate with your team, whether it's talking, typing, or of course following orders. And a lot of people just aren't up to that in a multiplayer shooter. More casual gamers want to hop on and hop off. And with vastly longer game times...
Yeah, because Postscriptum, it requires a lot of time. Like, the battles can take, I think, almost an hour. I mean, it's a lot of back and forth, and it's a lot of... it's not like a front line compared, like in Hell Let Loose. As I said, it's a mixture between ultra realistic and ridiculousness of Battlefield, where Battlefield is just... the battle is just everywhere, like completely surrounded you. It's everywhere. And in Hell Let Loose, you have a front line, and it's happening along the front line. And in Hell Let Loose, it's more like small skirmishes happening, not along the front line, but everywhere, not even everywhere on the map. More like there might just be like 10 people on each side fighting each other, let's say on the river. Then all of a sudden further down you have another 5 people fighting, and even further down you have 10 more people just shooting each other across the front line sort of way. And then you have specific groups that are infiltrating and trying to flank and that sort of thing. You have tanks sitting on the high behind the lines and in high heights and that sort of thing, trying to look over everything. So there's a lot of, as I said, it's realistic. It's a lot more, and also you're not going to see much as well. I mean, you can be shot from like 2 kilometers away and that sort of thing. So yes, ultra realistic is not the most fun one, but it depends on the person. Like, I liked it because it feels realistic. It's actually fun for that uniqueness. But Hell Let Loose is more fun because there's a lot more things that happens. Because a lot of the time, because sometimes when you play Postscriptum, you can go for a very long time without shooting a rifle, because you might just need to sit down, dig down, and just wait for the enemy. And the enemy might not want this place where you're positioned at. They might not see it as strategical as your commander does. So you might, it can go for a long time where you're not even seeing an enemy.
That doesn't give Postscriptum the fair shake it deserves. Sometimes its biggest strength, in this case, its dedication to realism, is also its biggest weakness. But we're here talking about the day Postscriptum died, the day everything shut down for the title. And I think for me and most, that would have been December of 2022. It was rumoured that the developers were completely laid off, that there will be no one else working on the title from this point forward. And that's...
Wow. Really? Okay. But why? What? I never heard about this. Were they like, did it went bankrupt, or what happened? Did the EA bought them?
Seems to come into fruition. There is no more updates. Only mods will be coming out and anything community made. The developers have gone completely silent, and it doesn't look like Postscriptum is going to get any improvements in the future. I think this is just down to the lack of interest from the player base. Why would Periscope Games, now having Squad as their centerpiece, put more resources into a
Oh yeah, they developed Squad as well, didn't they?
title like Postscriptum, especially when Hell Let Loose has taken over that crown now and run away with it despite its issues. They also had a little bit of a setback with a game like Beyond the Wire, their World War
Oh yeah, that one as well they made. I used to play a lot of Verdun, the video game Verdun based on World War I, and it was fun. And then Verdun, no, what's it called? Something else, I don't remember. But it's basically World War, same team making World War One, that Verdun game, but they made it. What was it called? I don't remember. But it's focusing on the Eastern Front. It wasn't that more fun compared to Verdun, in my opinion. Verdun is pretty much dead right now. I mean, unfortunately, because it's a really fun World War One game. So yeah, I tested this one Beyond Wire. It felt a little bit too Battlefield 1, you know, that whole chaos everywhere, and there weren't really that big of a maps, so unfortunately. Because I also feel like this, if you're gonna make a World War One game, do it like this. Both armies they get the quote time basically. They quote up and they get what you call it, squad and platoons and that sort of thing. They move out in this line, and then all of a sudden you basically meet in the middle, and all of a sudden you have to build trenches, and you have artillery, and you can change the landscape like in Battlefield 1. That would be amazing. And then you have to go and build extra lines behind, you know, trenches and that sort of thing. Like, it would be amazing if they could do something like that. Because I do know there are games out there that are very realistic. Like, it can take real time, days, weeks to change the front line. I don't remember what that specific game was called, where there's constantly warfare. Even now, there's just battles and warfare everywhere, and it's changing the front line. I don't remember the game right now.
One variant on their post-scriptum and squad realism, and that didn't do too well either, dying almost instantly. They are still, as far as I know, putting some time and money into developing that title with new updates, but post-scriptum has been out for too long. I think it's just been a little bit too much for them to want to carry it on, taking up a little too many resources. So it doesn't matter now whether Postscriptum was a successful title or not. There's still a debate to be had, but at the end of the day, the developers don't see more reason to carry it on, which I think is sad. We do have Hell Let Loose now, but competition is always healthy, and I mean, we've seen recently Hell Let Loose's lack of competition has meant the developers have started to slack off. They've made decisions that haven't really been in conjunction with what the community wants and where the...
That's unfortunately the truth about competition.
Developers and the community saw the game going seemed to stray in different directions. Whilst that seemed to be going more on the same track now, it would have been nice if Postscriptum could have stuck around. But hey, it didn't seem to want to stand the test of time.
Good video resource, and I can't pronounce that. I'm sorry. When it comes to English and foreign things and that sort of thing, I'm terrible with that. Okay. So Postscriptum's development team has been laid off. Is it official, like really official? That's hard. That's hard, especially for a game that's actually pretty fun. Hopefully the community is going to keep the game alive for a long time. Like the Battlefield, I think it was Battlefield 3, it's still around because of the community. Okay, no, that wasn't so good. Nice good news. Well, thank you all for watching. Go and sub to Resource Hunt FPS. Okay, that was... Well, not fun to hear. No fun to hear.